Hello everybody, Kern Murphy here from Custom Audio Mutation. How are you this afternoon, morning, whatever the heck? I have a Marshall 1959 Super Lead Plexi. This is a high voltage one. Marshall through the years had some different voltage style plexis. Anywhere from like 560 volts, 540 volts, down to like the low fives, 400s, all kinds of different stuff. This one is cooking at about 510, 515 on the plates, which makes it really loud. This came in really bad shape. I didn't even power it up when it first came in. It needed some heavy service before I wanted to risk doing anything like putting power to it. I'm gonna play it real quick. I do have a tube screamer in line, but it's not turned on right there. So, but these amps really do have do get really cool when you throw a tube screamer in the front of them. There are some mods that have been done to this amp, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna put the amp quote unquote neutral. I'll let you kind of hear it. So this is the bright channel with the all the tone controls and everything up at noon. Great rock sound. Here is the dark channel. And what is going on here with the amplifiers, I've got a high and a low input. I've dummied this input jack, and we have what they call it is a type 3 master volume at the phase inverter, and did an internal one wire mod. So you know that jumper cable that you see on guys run on plexis, that's now internally done. So you can just blend the parallel tubes for the tone that you want and the amount of gain that you want. So lots of bright, and put in a little bit of the dark channel for the bottom end. Or vice versa, you can put in the thick dark channel. I got earplugs in because this is ungodly loud. This is why nobody needs a 100-watt tube amp. So the next thing that I've done here is I put that master volume control that I told you about, so we can make not tip-top playing today, but you kick in the tube screamer, and that's always fun. that master volume, you can make it a really, really incredible and usable amp. The amp had already been violated in many, many ways. I'm actually going to power it down. And you hear that shield. Make the buzz, take the buzz, give you the buzz. So this thing came in needing a full recap, which I did. Put in brand new 500 volt F&Ts all through all the stages. There's the cute little F&T guy right there. Recapped the bias section as well. Replaced the screen resistors, which were all mismatched. There was a 50 watt, 100 watt switch here, which it only knocks off 3 decibels, guys. A 100 watt amp is not twice as loud as a 50 watt amp. So you don't need 100 watts for any show, anywhere that anybody ever plays anymore. That's a relic of the 60s and 70s, before PA systems, before sound guys had big loud PA systems. 50 watts, 35 watts, 22 watts. That's all you need, and even then sometimes that shit's too loud. Here is the one-wire mod that I did that allows me to blend in parallel, not series, not cascaded, like a plexi, which is parallel gain. The 2 gain stages run off the dark and the bright. I put it back. It had been poorly modded into a JCM 800, which is the cascaded gain, where one tube feeds the next tube into the next tube down the line, and that's how JCM 800s gain out. There were a lot of poorly done mods, so some parts had to be replaced. A bunch of wires had to be replaced because, again, bad mod work. Here is the Type 3 master volume, which I got from the Trainwreck pages, which ties in. And now normally I don't like to kludge or quote-unquote tack solder to anything in an amplifier, but because I didn't want to drill the PCB. This is an old original PCB. This might even be from the Park era, that giant P. Don't quote me on that. These are fed through, wrapped around, and soldered for a good solid connection. And it's easy to undo if anybody wants to undo it. And then a 0.68 put in on the cathode of V2, which is kind of the agreed upon plexi love. It makes the plexi jump a lot more than not having that there. This resistor was a weird value, like an 800 value. The caps were incorrect, so this whole section had to be rebuilt. And then I did my Lyle Caldwell grounding, where I lift the bus bar off the back of the pots, which creates what they call eddy currents and ground loop noise. Lifted that away, grounded the 2 volume controls, the the mid-range pot, the input jacks, and all of that tied here to the front of the amp. And the grounding for the cathodes for V1 and V2 are all tied to that, as well as the filter capacitor underneath that ground. All of that is tied together here. The phase inverter and bias are tied to ground. The heaters are tied to ground, and the transformer is tied to ground, and the bias voltage is tied to ground here at the back phase inverter cap. And then the rectifier circuit, which gave me a little bit of noise trouble, is tied to ground off of these caps, and then these caps have their own individual ground. These moves I learned from Lyle Caldwell of Psionic Audio. I'm not sure how he wants that pronounced. I will always give a shout out to that man, as well as all the other great guys who have helped me learn how to build amps, repair amps, all that good stuff. Took out the polarity switch, as you can see, that's gone. Replaced the jacks, or the switches here. Had to replace the indicator light. Cleaned all the pots, all that kind of stuff that needs to happen. The screen grids, retubed it, biased it for about 60% dissipation. Tested the preamp tubes for leakage and gassiness. They all work. They're a little microphonic, which is, normal. But other than that, she is, if you put this volume control, the master volume, on 10, it essentially takes it out of the circuit. And then you've got your Marshall Plexi bright and normal channel that you can then blend in parallel. Standard tone stack, standard presence control, all that good stuff. And she is an absolute volume crushing amplifier. This is a great amp. I love Plexis. I love 800s. These are super duper awesome. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I had to redo fuse holders as well. There was a stupid push fuse thing. Oh God. Had to redo the 3-prong so that the live 120 coming in from the wall goes to the fuse instead of the reversal that was going on. And the safety ground did not have its own independent safety ground, which it now does. So it's safe should a massive doom fault happen. Cleaned up every single solder joint on the sockets. Every single ground was cleaned. You can actually see like the sand marks where I undid and ground away any corrosion or crud to make sure that I can get the noise floor as low as possible. It's still going to have that classic kind of Marshall little bit of buzz in there, but you put the shielding pan on the bottom and put it in a box and it'll be great. Well, there you go, folks. This amp was a bit of an ass kicker. It took me a lot of days to get this one right, but I got it right.